What if the biggest opportunities in your career or business don't come from working harder, but from shifting your beliefs, energy, and confidence? So many high achievers think success is about doing more, proving more, and striving for perfection. But the real game changer is how you express yourself with authentic confidence. When you own your voice, your value, and your presence, you don't have to chase opportunities. You attract them. Hello and welcome to today's show on the inner game of success, how to express your authentic confidence to attract opportunities. For those who are new here, I'm Diana YK Chan, business growth strategist, LinkedIn top voice, and speaker. I help coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs build influential brands and scale to multi 6 and 7-figure businesses with premium offers. I'm also a mastermind retreat facilitator, and I host international retreats, having guided clients through transformational in-person experiences in Toronto, Cancun, and beyond. Comment and let us know where you're tuning in from today. Today, I am so excited to bring back my LinkedIn live stream show because I'm having a great conversation with a very special guest, Linda Rayner, who is an incredible thought leader. She's also an amazing client who I had the privilege of working with the last several months. Linda and I met back in 2016, and we started working together to support her rebrand, her upcoming book launch, and the new Quiet to Confident program that she's bringing into the world. The shifts that she's made in such a short period of time have been amazing, and how she sees herself, her business, and the impact of her message. Many of you may already know her. Linda Rayner is a global speaker, LinkedIn learning instructor with over 1 million learners, YouTube creator with nearly 1 million subscribers, and now the upcoming author of The Quiet Achiever, a book that will completely reframe how we think about confidence and success. Before we dive into our conversation, here's what you can expect from today's show. We'll unpack what authentic confidence really looks like and how to overcome self-doubt and comparison, and the role energy plays in showing up powerfully, plus practical steps you can take this week to express your confidence in a way that feels natural and aligned. And because it's going to be interactive, I would love to hear from you. Drop a word in the chat. How would you describe your confidence right now? Maybe it's growing, quiet, or work in progress. There aren't wrong answers. We'd love to hear from you here. All right, so let's welcome Linda to the show. Linda,
hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Diana. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Super excited. We have an audience here. You probably recognize some of our fellow coaches or peers. I want to say hello to Irina, Anna, Alan, Sono, who are all tuning in to support you. Hello, Heidi. Wow, we have a great audience already. Thank you. Thank you. So, Linda, I'm going to kick things off with some questions here to get to learn more about you, your journey, and then we'll dive into the book, and we're going to answer the audience questions as well. So audience, please also chime in the comments, ask questions there. So Linda, let's start with a little bit of your story here. And I want to hear from you about your upbringing and the pivots of how you went from being a CPA to recruiter, a YouTube creator, and then coach, how that shaped how you saw success. What defining moments made you rethink your path?
Ooh, okay, that's a big story, but I'm happy to share it. It's one that now has become, the story that I tell people when I first meet with them. So ultimately, I grew up as a daughter of immigrants. My parents were refugees. They came to Canada in the 80s after the Vietnam War with nothing to their name. And they had me and they had my younger sister. And, growing up, I grew up in a blue collar family. My parents worked in factories. I wasn't exposed to much in terms of what a professional career path could look like. But I was told growing up, as many are told when we're raised in certain households at the financial level that we were at, it was more about focus on working hard, studying hard. And once you make it into the work world, you'll be successful. life will be good, you'll live happily ever after. And so I genuinely believe that. It was all about, I just need to work hard, study hard in school. And so I did that. I worked really hard. I studied really hard. I ended up getting good grades and scholarships and all of these things. And when it came time to picking a career path, I ended up going down the CPA route because, again, I wanted that successful, prestigious, stable career because, in my mind, that was what success was all about. And that's what I was trained and programmed to believe. And it was a great start to my career from a corporate perspective. I learned a lot, but I learned also very quickly a lot of things about myself by going down that path. I learned that I actually wasn't very good in accounting. I learned that I didn't love being an auditor, and I learned that this was not what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I ended up working at a Big Four accounting firm for a few years, right after graduation, and it was then where, you asked about pivot points. It was then where I was already planning to leave the CPA firm. Getting the designation was already hard enough for me because I was failing the exams. This was how difficult it was for me. For other people, like my husband, he's also a CPA. He passed with flying colors the first time around. All of my friends passed the first time around. I kept failing. So I already felt behind in my life. And this was after studying so hard in school, thinking that, I'm smart, I'm hardworking. Why can't I pass these exams? So I thought my life was over for a little period of time because I couldn't get the designation. And once I finally did, I said to myself, okay. And I said to my parents, I'm not going to stay in this career path. I need to do something different. And they said, fine, as long as you get the CPA, you can do something different. And so I was about to quit. And then I found out by looking at my schedule, the following months that I had for engagements with audit clients and things like that, it was the schedule was completely blocked out. And I went to my partner and I said, why is my schedule blocked off? I thought I would have all these engagements coming up. And he said, oh, let's have a meeting. So we sat down, and an HR woman walked into the room with a folder on her lap, and she sat next to me. And that's when they calmly shared with me that I was getting let go out of the accounting firm. And you would think that I was sad, but they gave me the folder and they said, this is your severance package. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, but of course I had to be as calm as possible, but they gave me a taxi chit to go home and a big severance package. In my mind, I mean, it was my first real corporate job. I was really excited. And I went home and I told my parents, hey, they let me go. I was about to quit, but they let me go. So I was excited about that. But then that was where I had to really shift and pivot into what am I going to do next? Now I have the CPA designation. What do I want to do? Do I want to go into accounting and auditing? And I did not want that. And um, the universe kind of brought this opportunity to me. I saw this job description for a recruiter role looking for a CPA. They wanted someone who had accounting experience and knowledge that could work with CPA professionals, because ultimately that role was about placing people into those types of positions. And I thought to myself, I've always actually been good, Diana, and I'm sure you can resonate with this. Always been good with interviewing and getting job offers. Even when I was in university, interviewing for the Big Four accounting firms, that was the easiest part for me because I ended up getting all 4 job offers. All the Big Four wanted to hire me. So I always had this innate confidence that I could land jobs, and I knew that I could share that with people. As a recruiter, I ended up doing really well as a recruiter. I placed hundreds of people. I became a top producer at the firm. And I thought, okay, maybe this will be the thing that I do for the rest of my life. But for me, I'm a very, I talk about being a quiet achiever. The achiever part is a really big part in me, where I always feel that there's a next level to go. There's always something within me that there's always more that I want to achieve. That's just my drive. That's just how I've always been. And so I felt like I could do more because I was placing hundreds of people into jobs, but there were thousands of people. This was back in 2015, 2016, thousands of people that I had to ignore because as soon as I picked up the phone and I heard them talk to me, I could tell they didn't know how to sell themselves. They didn't know how to communicate their value. And I think a lot of the career coaches can resonate with this. They didn't know with your clients. They didn't know how to really articulate and share with me how they were a good fit for the role. So because of that, I could not help them. As a recruiter, you have very limited time. You just have a few roles that you have to place, and you have to find the diamond in the rough. Or you have to find the superstars, more like. And so I thought, okay, those thousands of people, I actually think I can help them. And this was back in 2016. I decided I would quit my job as a recruiter. And 6 months after quitting my job, I put out my first YouTube video. I had an intuitive hunch that if you just put yourself on video, people will watch. I had this knowing. And there's a whole, I'm a very intuitive, sensitive person. We'll talk about that as well. But I had that knowing. So I decided to do that. And by the third video, which was Tell Me About Yourself, that video went viral. Now it has like 20 something million views. And um, it ended up creating the foundation for my business, where I started offering one-on-one coaching as a career coach, helping people to land jobs. I offered courses, evergreen courses that I was selling. And so I rode that wave for years because I just kept producing videos, offering courses and coaching. And that lasted me well into after COVID. But here's the thing is that also started to become my identity. So you can stop me, Diana, whenever you want, because I know that to get to where I am now, there's a whole second level to this story. But
Yeah.
in 2020 and 2021, I had my kids back to back. And so my identity crisis happened at that time, because up until then, I was Linda Rayner, successful career coach, making multiple seven figures in my business, all this. And that was my identity: Linda, successful career coach and businesswoman. And then when I had my kids in the middle of COVID, I was like, I have to be a stay-at-home mom for these two. I don't feel successful anymore. And I was starting to really feel a lot of uncomfortable feelings within myself. This whole identity shift of being a mom and not being the version of myself that I thought I was. And then at the end of 2022, my husband was diagnosed with cancer. And the doctors were not optimistic in the slightest about his prognosis. Um, and that was a whole life shift in itself as well. We went through a whole healing journey through that process. And I mean, we're forwarding really quickly, but ultimately
Yeah.
now dubbed a miracle, or called a miracle by doctors. And he's helping me in the work that I do now. And we're a happy, healthy family. But it's taken, these pivot points for me to get to this place where I'm at now, where my focus really is, it's not about helping people land jobs. It's really about helping people to get to the root of who they really are underneath the surface, the
Yeah.
I've had to go through.
Yeah. I
Discover
love that.
confidence. Yeah.
I love that. First of all, the audience is like typing in here already, say that's so relatable. That can really relate to this story, and I could relate as well. Like having moved from Hong Kong to Canada on my own, I was 16, and my parents always wanted me to become because I was good at math, so like going to finance as well. But I ended up becoming doing what I do now as a speaker and coach, so something completely different. So I can really relate to the story of really getting at the root of who you really are, what's important to you, and really redefining success and happiness, like which is really what we're here to talk about today. And so I want to hear a little bit more the story of that led you to writing the book, The Quiet Achiever. What inspired you to put this message into a book now? And I know there's a lot got to do with the last several years with
Yes.
kids and your husband healing from cancer. Like tell us a little bit about this story as well, because I think a lot of people can relate and how this will move into this new direction of who you're serving.
Yes, yes. So with the book, first of all, I think each and every one of us, not every single person, but a lot of us can say that we have a book in us, that maybe perhaps you have a book in you that you want to write. And for me, I've always had that. I've always had that knowing that one day I would write a book, but I did not think I would have written the book the time that I wrote it, because what had happened was my husband had just started recovering. He was feeling a lot better. We were living a much more normal life. We were going to our friends' cottages and just focusing on us as a family. And I'll tell about a little bit about the dream, because that then leads to the story of the book. But I was sleeping one night. This was August of 2023, I think. Yes, I was sleeping. It was like 5 a.m. in the morning, and I had a very vivid dream. In my dream, my eyes were open as if I was looking at the ceiling of my bedroom. And when I looked up, I saw a hardcover book. It looked like one of my journals. I have very nice hardcover journals that I write in. It looked exactly like my journal, but then it had a title on it called Express Your Inner Confidence by Linda Rayner. And even in the dream, I could see that looks like a book that I've written. And then when I woke up, I remember seeing it still so vividly in my mind. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to take that as a sign. Maybe it means that I need to write a book, or write the book that I said that I've always wanted to write. And so I ended up going down this rabbit hole for the next 2 to 3 months of just researching, understanding how do you get a book published. I wanted to go through a traditional publisher. That was just part of that. I wanted to figure out, like, how do I get, an agent? How do I get publishers to take notice of me? And once I did all, and also what type of book title was I going to create? What was the topic going to be? So I looked into all of that, and it was towards the end of the year, around November, where I was starting to feel a little deflated because I realized, okay, this whole book thing is actually going to be a long process. It's probably going to be about a year. I'm going to have to write a manuscript. I'm going to have to shop it around, find an agent to help me. So I thought, okay, I'll just put it on the back burner. But thank God I did. I followed those hunches and I did the research, because within a few weeks, and I'm not even kidding you, within a few weeks, I got a random email from Wiley, the publisher of the book, The Quiet Achiever, reaching out saying, "Linda, we'd love to partner with you." And I'm not even kidding. I thought it was spam. I thought all my book research was me putting in my emails to random places, and they, were faking being a publisher reaching out to me. But I answered the email, and they set me up on a Zoom call. Turns out it was legit. It was the real editor there, and she said that she found my YouTube channel, she found my work, and she asked me point blank, "Linda, have you ever thought about writing a book? Because if you have, we'd love to publish it." And so I was like, in that moment, I was so excited because I was like, okay, that's why I had the dream. That's why I did all this research. And within 24 hours, I was able to turn around a full on proposal, like a full on book proposal for them, because I had done all the research on what I was thinking about writing about. And here's the kicker, Diana. I thought that I was going to write about helping professionals to get promoted in their jobs. Because in my mind, I was thinking, people are wanting to get promoted. Maybe they're struggling a little bit with getting the promotion they want. But as I wrote the book, it took me several chapters to realize this was not exactly what I wanted to write about, even though I wanted to still help that same group of individuals. But I knew I wanted to help them at a deeper level, because what had been revealed to me over the last few years is when it comes to getting, the goals or the opportunities that we want for ourselves, when it comes to moving forward in our lives in the direction that we want, it comes down to how we feel about ourselves. It comes down to what we say about ourselves. It comes down to how we carry ourselves. That is then what leads to opportunities, whether it's a promotion, a completely different job opportunity, or maybe an idea for a business, whatever it could be. It comes down to the energy that we carry within ourselves. And if our energy is blocked, and I talk a lot about this, blocked meaning you are carrying fear-based beliefs that are circulating within you, and it's causing you to not be able to express yourself fully, wholly, authentically to the world. And so you feel as though you're showing up as just one facet or one version of you, but you're not showing up as your full, wholehearted self, and you don't feel fully authentic. That is when we know, and we can look into why that's happening. That means there are blocks. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to write about this, because I've gone through my own journey of really having to dig deep, and I'm still on this journey. I'm not a perfect human being, of really digging deep into the blocks, unblocking myself, getting myself to this next level where I attract the right people into my life, you included, Diana, and attract opportunities. And then I wanted to write about this. So that's what the Quiet Achiever is about. That is now the work that I do. And so for the individuals who are struggling to get promoted, that's sort of the surface level problem. A little bit deeper than that is you're struggling to communicate confidently, probably at work, in meetings, in presentations. That's also another sort of daily issue. Anxiety sits within you on a common basis, on a daily basis. But ultimately, underneath, it's really about getting down to the root of the self-doubt, the lack of confidence that's there, getting to the programming, the energy that you're carrying from that place. And when we can uproot that, and I teach how to do that in the Quiet Achiever, then communication becomes natural. Then the way you express yourself online or to others in the world becomes very comfortable, very natural. And people see you for who you really are, and you feel more at ease within yourself as well. And that's then when opportunities also attract themselves to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. There's so many people commenting relating to this story, and I also you see all of the very inspirational. I love that. I can totally relate to that. I'd have goosebumps just listening to this story and you getting the book. So, Linda, now with your book, The Quiet Achiever, and your quiet confident work, you're stepping into this new chapter now. What does this new pivot look like for you, and how is it changing the way that you serve others there?
Yes. This new pivot for me, I had to, every single time in my life that I've made a pivot, I've had to sit down and reflect consistently as to what this could potentially look like. So it's almost as though I do this thing where I tune into that future version of myself to get a sense as to what does she look like? What is she up to? What is she doing? What makes her excited and happy and empowered each and every day? And then I try to draw that into my present self so that I know and can get those hunches and hints as to what's the right next step to get closer to that version. And so I did that when I quit my job as a recruiter, because I had to envision what did I want, and I knew I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to work my own hours. I wanted to be in control of my day, and that's what led me to starting YouTube and being a career coach online. And I did that recently, obviously, right before we started really working together, even during the time that we just started, with my book coming out, where the vision that has come to me is that really the pivot that I'm in right now is really about spreading the message about the quiet achiever for those individuals, because I feel like over the last 10 years there has been this audience of what I call quiet achievers. We are quiet in the sense that we keep to ourselves, we're more introverted, we prefer our own energy, we don't need necessarily other people to boost us up. If anything, we actually need our own time. So you can say introverted, but we're not hermits. We're actually very sociable people. We're warm and sensitive and compassionate people. It's just that we're not the super out there type personalities. And I could say that for sure I'm a quiet achiever. Achiever being we're highly driven, we have goals, we have visions for ourselves. And so it's this certain population where I feel like we feel a little bit overlooked, especially in the workplace and even in business, because we're not the ones always promoting ourselves necessarily. We're the ones that we want to show up as authentic as we are, and we don't necessarily we don't want to feel as though we're making ourselves uncomfortable in order to get the attention. We're not wanting necessarily so much attention. So there's these resistances that happens with us as quiet achievers, but yet we also want to be successful.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
it's really about getting to the root of, well, why is there resistance? Because perhaps it's not just about the fact that we're introverted. Maybe there's something else going on. And that's what I've had to realize is, yeah, I think I've also developed, and actually I know I've developed certain insecurities and self-doubts over the years because my personality was not necessarily rewarded growing up and then in the workplace. I wasn't the most, I didn't have all the friends in the world. I was a bit of a loner, and then when I went to the workplace, I felt like I didn't belong, and I didn't feel as though I was all sociable like the other individuals that I worked with. And so we feel a little bit left out, we feel a little bit insecure as a result. And so that starts to build upon itself year after year as we try to grow our careers or our businesses, and that starts to become more blatant, and we need to address that. Because if we want to get to the next level of wherever it is that we want to go, we need to be able to address the resistances. Does
Yeah.
that answer your question? I feel like I'm just,
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely. Well, I'm gonna check with the audience. If you can relate to being a quiet achiever, type in a +1 there. Just type in +1 if you can relate to this. And if this relates to you, encourage you to also order Linda's book, The Quiet Achiever. It's coming out on October 14th
Yes.
here. Really excited. You've already pre-sold over 500 books right now, and it's coming out. There's going to be some book signings happening as well. And let's get into some more practical tips that's in your book as well that ties into today's topic. And my
Yes.
question that I have here is around for those who are feeling stuck, you talk about being in the block here or having that self-doubt, imposter syndrome. What's the inner shift that would make the biggest difference in being seen and valued? What are some practical tips that you can offer them that are feeling stuck?
Okay. So this is something I talk about. And when we say practical, it's something that you have to do with yourself. Okay. So there's a couple things. Number one is that if you're feeling the self-doubt or feeling the imposter syndrome, first of all, what I would say is imagine the version of you who is not feeling that. The version of you who's fully confident in who he or she is in themselves. The version of you who speaks with presence, who shows up with that presence, who is warm and people can feel your energy, who's engaging. Think of that version of you. If you can imagine that version of you, then that version of you exists. The fact that you can imagine them means that they exist at some level. I mean, we're talking in the energetic sphere, okay? There's the version of you there. That means he or she exists. So now, what I want people to do once they've done that part is to now start to feel the resistance that's going to start to naturally stir up when you think of that version. I'm not that version. Okay. Why? What am I feeling about this? So you're going to have to look into, and this is a process that I talk about in my book called Flu, FLU. And the reason why I call it that is because if you think about having the flu or a fever, for example, what happens? Your body burns up, your temperature rises because naturally your body is trying to excrete the virus or the infection, whatever it is that you have. So your body's burning it out. And then after that happens, just like if you go into a sauna, you sweat it all out, you feel so much better and you feel clear. This is the same thing when it comes to blocked energy and blocked beliefs. So FLU stands for feel, label, and uncover. Feel means feel the resistance, feel the painful emotions that you're experiencing right now in terms of the self doubt. Sit with it. Sit with the self doubt, sit with the fear, sit with the imposter syndrome, all of the uncomfortable feelings. A lot of times we try to just shove it down and ignore it. Let it rise because that's what we need to do to let this infection come out. Let it rise, feel it fully. If it results in tears and crying, perfect. I've had many, 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 many times of having to do this. So tears is perfect because that's the chemical reaction of us letting it out. Then L stands for label the feeling. Okay, label in terms of what is it that I can call this? Is it disappointment? Is it I'm just I'm feeling guilty? If it what are the associated labels that you would say this feeling is about? Because it just helps you to identify like I'm feeling anxiety, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling upset, I'm feeling okay, fine, but just label it, whatever it is that comes to mind. And then from there, you is the biggest part, which is to uncover the underlying belief. Ultimately, and this is what I teach in the book, you cannot feel any sort of emotion unless you have a belief about it. So for example, if I was to say, what are your feelings about this mouse that I have here? You would probably say nothing. I don't really have any feelings towards this mouse that you're holding in your hand because you don't necessarily have any beliefs associated to it. But if I was to say the name Donald Trump, depending on your beliefs and all, you're going to have a certain emotion because you have beliefs associated to those words. And the same goes with any emotions that you have. There's an underlying belief that sits beneath the surface. So it's now about, okay, I'm feeling this anxiety. What is the belief that I'm choosing to hold on to that's resulting in this feeling? So if we're thinking about the underlying belief, we have to think, oh, it's because I actually choose to believe that I'm not good enough compared to my peers, or I'm not as, pretty, or I'm not as capable, or whatever it is. I don't know. I mean, we all have our slightly different, nuanced ways of believing different things. So you have to dig to the root of it. And then when you bring it to the surface, I'm not good enough in this, I'm not good enough on LinkedIn, let's say. Um, you want to then really ask yourself, is this true? Is this true? Is this really true? Or is it just a belief that I'm holding on to? And ultimately what you're going to realize is every belief is a choice. You get to decide if you want to continue holding on to that belief or you can choose a different belief. But only until you bring it to the surface does the belief then it's given air and it kind of just dissipates. It's kind of like when you open like a really tight sealed jar, you finally air it out and it's gone. Whatever was in there, it's dissipated. It's the same idea. I don't have the perfect analogy here. Or I talk about a pipe. You have a clogged pipe. You unclog the pipe. In your kitchen, bathroom sink, whatever, you unclog it, and then okay, now it's working perfectly. You need to do the unclogging. That's what the FLU method is about, and you will see that when you do this consistently enough, so that means a lot of tears probably in the process, but once you do this enough, you start to feel lighter, and you start to then gain the clarity as to, what do I need to do next? What's next for me? What's my next step? Is
I love
that
that. I
is
love that.
that
As I'm
yeah.
listening to this, what popped up for me is just thinking about going through this, the feeling for me, like for the longest time, I felt like I didn't belong because I moved back and forth Hong Kong and Canada growing up, felt like I was not Chinese enough or Canadian enough, and English not being my first language, but I also wasn't really good with my Cantonese. And so I felt like I was not smart enough or that I didn't belong. And so I was always doubting whenever I spoke up in class. I had the quietest voice in class. In university, 50% of my grades were based on participation, and my classmates would speak up on my behalf. But I always had this dream that I wanted to become a speaker. And so that's something I had to really work on, dig deep of all these limiting beliefs that I had about whatever I had about like that I'm not a good enough speaker and so I'm so glad you're talking about this because a big part is just until I really owned my voice and who I am, my uniqueness, that's when things really bloom and blossom the last several years was just owning my own unique voice and style and believing what I have to offer here.
I love that. You are a walking example then for what people can aspire to. Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
did see someone, Maria asked a question, where can we find flu? So flu is in my book, The Quiet Achiever. That's the topic. That's one of the strategies or the approach, the framework that I teach when it comes to uncovering those fear-based beliefs and releasing them. So you can find it in my book, The Quiet Achiever. The link is right here.
Yeah, we have some of them already seen it stand in the book. I love that. So I want to move on to the next question is this is like a common one around comparison. How can someone stop comparing themselves to louder, more charismatic people instead of owning their own style of confidence and communication?
Yes, I think this also leads into some of the other questions, or one of the other questions I remember you wanted to ask me, and something that I really want to point out is that comparison is not the way to do it. It's actually what has brought me a lot of confidence and comfort um, in showing up in front of others and being this version of myself is by owning my story. So really, it goes down to knowing your story and your unique journey because no one else will have walked the exact same steps that you've walked in your life, and your story is one that is completely unique to you. And so when we're trying to compare ourselves to people who are louder, more charismatic, they have their story, but that's not your story. And your story is valuable. And when you recognize the value of your unique story, the challenges that you've overcome, the beliefs that you've been able to unlock and overcome, when you're able to understand yourself from the perspective of your story, that becomes part of your messaging to the world. That then becomes part of how you carry yourself into the world because you know yourself better. You know that you've gotten you've gotten yourself to this level through all the hardships and struggles that you've gone through. And now you're in this place and in this mindset where you know yourself. And so ultimately what then happens is the charisma, the ability to connect with others, the ability to speak and communicate, all these things, they start to feel much more natural because now you're owning who you are. But when you don't do that process of knowing your story and knowing what challenges you've gone through and what you've worked through to get to where you are and acknowledging yourself, yeah, you are going to compare yourselves to others and you're going to look at them as, oh, they're better at this, they're more impressive and I'm nothing. But you're not nothing. You actually just haven't done the work of looking back in time into how you've gotten to where you are. If that makes sense.
Something I talk a lot about, like I love this about owning your story, is that your story is part of your growth strategy. Your story is what makes you stand out, what differentiates you. And part of owning your story is also recognizing and believing that you value that you have to offer so that you can start sharing what you're amazing at, sharing your gifts. So when you start actually even acknowledging yourselves, giving yourselves a pat on the back, that is part what's going to help you to stop comparing yourselves to others because you see yourself as some unique, that you have something valuable to offer here. So I'm so glad that you're talking about this because when you start recognizing that in terms of what you bring to the world and the table, that's how you also stop comparing yourselves to others there. Let's talk about success. Success. I know you talk a lot about this, but redefining success and happiness. Oftentimes,
Mhm.
success comes with overthinking or over analyzing and leading to burnout. What role does energy play in expressing your authentic confidence? And how do you personally reset when you feel drained?
Okay, I feel like there's like 4 different questions in that.
It's multiple.
Yes, all just jammed in one. Okay, so let's talk about success, okay? Because this is something that from being a child growing up in, you know, a lower middle class, I would say, family, I was taught to believe that success equals how much you make. Success equals, the house size that you have. Success equals to the things that you own. And that was what I worked towards for pretty much all my life, and achieved those things. And it was when life changed where I realized, okay, I can have all these things, but why do I still feel empty inside? That I had to really question my definition of success. Because what did success now start to look like for me? Success for me nowadays is more about time, the time that I have with myself, but the time with my family, the time with the right people, making those connections with those right people, the time for me to be able to explore and continue to express my gifts and talents. Like for me, it's really about how I feel on a day-to-day basis. If I'm feeling that I'm living my life on purpose and I'm pursuing the mission that I'm here to do, and opportunities are going to come, then I just know that I'm living the right path. I'm on the right path. That's success. But if I'm looking externally, seeking something to fulfill me, that's when I know that's when you start to feel the resistance. That's when you start to feel the discomfort because you're looking for something else to fulfill you. So it's really about living from the inside out rather than the outside in, is my new definition of success. And then overthinking, burnout. I think overthinking is something that I can still get very easily trapped into. And you know this, Diana, about me, is that I can easily fall down rabbit holes and think, oh, okay, what do I do with this? What do I do with that? To the point where it burns me out. And I've become a lot better at recognizing that when I'm on the verge of burnout. But burnout is something that sometimes we don't know until it happens, until it's already so far down the line. We're like, why do I just not feel myself, and I've not been feeling like myself for a little while? And then we kind of can say to ourselves, okay, we're feeling burnt out. But to prevent that, it really goes down to that question about feeling drained. Once you have to acknowledge yourself as quiet achievers or as introverts, we are very sensitive to our energy. We can feel and sense when things are starting to wane. When our battery is running on, has that little red line, and it's like the battery's about to die. Like we know that. So it's really about becoming much more in tune with our bodies and recognizing that, and then forcing ourselves to step away from the laptop or step away from the meetings and really decompress. And I'm still in the process of learning that, because me coming back onto the scene and putting myself online in the last few months, it has at times really drained me. And so I am learning to manage that. And the biggest thing I would say is expectations. Putting so much pressure on yourself is actually what energetically drains you the fastest. The pressure and the expectations of it has to look a certain way, it has to be a certain way, it has to receive a certain amount of this and that. That is actually what drains your battery the fastest. But when you actually eliminate the expectations, is what I'm learning, and this is through the book launch too. This whole journey, I feel like everything happens for a reason. You end up becoming much more at ease with, okay, let's just do what we can do today, give our best effort, put our full selves forward, and allow whatever is meant to come, and whatever is meant to go. So there is much more free flowing energy with that. And I think there was another part to the question with expressing your authentic confidence. And ultimately, this is what I teach. And last night I did a talk for Harvard University medical students and alumni, on the topic of confidence and communication. And it's funny because I was sitting in front of an audience of people who are highly educated, obviously so much smarter than me from a book's perspective and science perspective. But the common theme was that they all struggled with their communication on the surface, but ultimately it's the confidence in communicating and expressing their voice. And when it comes to this, what I've learned and recognized is that it doesn't matter how capable we are or how smart we are or how educated we are. I think as humans we all struggle with this idea of expressing our authentic selves, and it really only comes across, it only can be expressed, the authentic confidence, when we're willing to turn inwards, look within, and address what's blocking the authentic confidence from expressing itself. Because we all have it. We're all authentically confident. That's what I genuinely believe. It all sits down here somewhere. It wants to be expressed, but we are blocking it. And so if we're willing to acknowledge the blocks, we're willing to work through that and be really present with ourselves and not try to run away and avoid, that is when ultimately, bit by bit, we chip away at it, that our authentic voice starts to come through. And we just feel so much more calm and at ease. And that energy, when we express it to others in the world through video, through chats, through whatever it is, conversations in person, people will feel that.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that plus our intuition, it all then leads us to where we're meant to go, rather than spiraling, falling in these anxiety cycles and and feeling like we're in this loop. We pull ourselves out of the loop when we're willing to look at the blocks.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love that you're talking about this because something that I've seen in your growth the last several months, yes, that you have times where, let's say, overthinking, but you process those feelings, emotions really quickly, and that you're able to pick yourself back up to move on. And so I think this is a lot what you're teaching as well as process those emotions, process those energy, so you can acknowledge how you're feeling. And one of the things I have in my mind that popped up for me is like, expect nothing but appreciate everything. Because when we put a lot of expectations either on ourselves and others, this is where the anxiety creeps in because you have all these expectations. But when you come from the place of gratitude, appreciation, it feels more expansive. It feels much more possibilities driven there. And that's something I've really learned over the years because I had carried so many expectations growing up. Being the eldest in my family of three younger siblings, I was always told, be a good role model for your siblings, get good grades. I was like the bottom in class in grade 4 and dropped a grade because I couldn't write perfect Chinese and had to learn how to pick myself back up. And it was all these expectations. Even when my parents sent me to Canada on my own when I was 16, they're like, don't screw up. Be a good role model for your siblings. That expectation led me to having 3 part-time jobs, running my math tutoring business. And I was like, oh my goodness, until I went to coaching training and a coach told me, stop living the life that your parents expect you to. Start
Mm.
living the life that you truly want. And that broke me free because I've been living the expectations of my parents and all this pressure I had on myself of what success really meant. As soon as that unblocked, I was like, I'm going to be a speaker. I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to do events, which is like totally opposite of what my parents had imagined. And I remember when I started my business, they're like, don't do that. But my mom was telling me, like, uh, don't be too successful either. If you make too much money, your husband will not love you. And so I had to unwire, what do you call this? Like
That's
belief
funny.
system as well. So I just love that we're talking about this, about success. And so I'm curious, Linda, um, with the work that we've been doing the last 3 months, I'm really proud just to even see how with this new transition of yours, what's been the biggest shift for you in how you see yourself and your business since we're working together on your rebrand and book launch? I know there are times like uncertainty. This is a question on pivot. If anyone's going through a transition and pivot rebranding, it feels messy. It feels uncertain, right? How do you manage those emotions and get yourself back up and know that you're in the right direction?
Yes. Well, one thing that you were always so good at reminding me, Diana, is that my story, and that's why I talked about it earlier, is how valuable my story is, and that people want to know me, the real Linda, beneath the, oh, here are my interview tips on how to get a job. And that's how I always showed up online as, is this one version, very one dimensional. And you kept encouraging me, just, you want to share your story, you want to share your full story. And that, I would say, was the biggest hiccup that I had to address, because I was so afraid to talk about my story. I even said to my husband, I said, "Who wants to hear about me growing up as, whatever, as a straight A student that struggled with confidence? Who wants to hear about that? Like, no one wants to hear that." And it was only until I started putting out those videos, sharing more about my story, my journey, what's been going on with me, that I realized, oh, this is actually how people will connect with me now moving forward. And it gave me the permission and the opportunity to now just be myself, because I was being so much more me in those videos rather than just teaching. And I think a lot of the coaches in this stream can relate to that, is that you feel as though your identity is just at being a teacher or teaching people how to do things. But what I've learned is it's really about being that full version of yourself, showing up fully, the different aspects of you. That actually is what gets people to feel as though they really know you and they really can connect with you. And then that is then where opportunities come through, if that makes sense. I don't have the question in front, so I can't remember exactly what the full thing was. What was the other part of the question?
Let me see here. What
It
do we
was
have?
the shift, right? Oh,
Oh,
the
yes,
pivot,
the
the
shift,
brand,
with the
the
brand, the
shift.
shift. Yeah,
Okay.
what's been the biggest shift for you, and how do you know that you're on the right path here, or trusting yourself?
Yes, yes. Okay. So I mean, obviously from a surface level perspective, the biggest shift is that I knew in my heart that I no longer wanted to just be a job search coach, even though that's literally what I've built my identity on for the last almost near decade, is that I help you land a job offer. But I was starting to become a lot quieter in that area over the last little while, because I just didn't enjoy talking about it. So that's a sign, is that when you are not enjoying sharing the type of content that you've sort of been building your identity on over the last little while, and you're realizing this doesn't excite me anymore, that is a sign that you're likely heading into a pivot point, or you're going to be transforming, you're shifting. And so then from that perspective, I had to get clear on, well, instead of, teaching, instead of just how to's, what is it that I really want to share with the world? So I had to turn inwards. And that's part of pivoting and shifting, is turning inwards and becoming really honest, doing that self examination. And for me, it was getting clarity on knowing that there was a particular group of people that I've always resonated with over the years. And as I said, it was this group of quiet achievers who are just quietly working away, working really hard in their careers, but they are struggling silently. I don't want to make it sound like they're like dying or anything, but it's more that they live with at least a low level of anxiety every single day. And I know it because I have been there. And I know it because I can fully relate to them. I am also a quiet achiever. So I wanted to resonate with an audience that mirrored me rather than just everyone under the sun who was looking for a job. I wanted to hone in on this particular niche. And because my book, also the messages from it, I felt would really resonate with them as well. So for me right now, the work that I'm doing is really about supporting that group. And so it comes down to, so I have my program that I've already done a beta, and that's gotten amazing results. And now I'm going to be launching it fully in November, quiet to confident. And it's for those individuals who are wanting to go from quiet and holding and shrinking themselves back to stepping into their authenticity, to communicating more confidently in front of their, whether it's coworkers or their boss or meetings. Ultimately, it's not really about the workplace. It's more about the inner journey, the transformation, but also the practical tips as to, okay, these are the frameworks, these are the approach on how you can communicate a little bit differently to get people to buy into your ideas and influence others. I still also want to do that practical aspect. I'm a very practical teacher in many ways, so I want to make sure that I combine both. But that's the transformation. And so that's the work that I'm doing now. And it has been messy. I mean, it's been the last 3 months has been, you will find that when you're going through this type of pivot, you will find yourself sitting on your bed at times, completely doubting yourself, completely being unsure as to where it's going, whether it's working, you're questioning yourself constantly. And for me, when you said that I pick myself back up, it's because I've gone through this process of understanding, this flu method that I've come up with where I actually implement that. I allow myself to feel, I allow myself to cry when there's tears that need to be shed. I label it, I look at them, and then I uncover the underlying belief. What am I saying to myself at a deep subconscious level that's causing me to feel this way? When you start to look at it from more of that objective perspective, processing emotions, processing fears becomes a lot easier. It's just about getting into the rhythm of it, and doing that because you accelerate much more quickly, energetically, I would say. And so I think that's why in the last few months, it's been a fairly quick transition, even though it has felt for me slow. But I do think when I look back, people are very clear about my messaging now, at least the people that are in my network and that have been following me for a while.
Absolutely. I want to ask the audience, like, if you're in this place of transition or pivot, type in the comment, pivot. This is actually the work I did a lot before moving into business coaching, Linda, and it can get messy. And I just want to give some like words of encouragement for those who are in this transition. Is I always talk a lot about soul searching first, like dig deep into who you really are, what you really want, what's really truly important to you before you put yourself out there to go look for those new opportunities, right? Like to get really clear on that. And then second is get really clear on what you bring to the table, what value that you bring, because that's how you're going to be able to talk to others in a way that's going to express the authentic confidence of what you have to offer to attract those opportunities. Like back to this whole topic is you got to believe what you have to bring to the table, even though you're moving into something new. That's a big part of it, right? If you don't, how do we get other people to believe in you there? And then from there, that's when you really build those relationships so that people can really endorse you and recommend you for opportunities there. And I want to see if the audience, any other questions from our audience, we can also take some questions from our audience as well. We have someone saying major pivot in the process of adding more more coaching niches. Okay. Um, Linda, I have another question for you here. Before I'm going to take some more questions, the audience wants to add in question here. Is you've built nearly 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and you have over 1 million learners on LinkedIn Learning, and you've created a lot of video content in terms of putting yourself out there. Um, for those who want to put themselves out there but fear this visibility, what people will say, I have a lot of clients right now who want to create video content but just scared or want to build their authority online. What advice do you have for them? Like, what are the shifts that need to make so that they can really express their voice and authentic confidence?
Okay. So I'll tell you a little bit about what happened for me, how like I started when I was putting out video content. Firstly, this was back in 2016, back when not everyone under the sun was on YouTube like they are now. So it was a new thing. And for me, I kind of felt, well, because no one else I know is on YouTube, no one's probably going to be watching it anyway. So I was kind of buffered a little bit with the idea of what are people going to think. I just thought no one was going to see it. So I came in with that approach of just, what is it that I want to get across in the video? What do I want the audience who does watch it? What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to walk away with? And I knew that I want to offer value, and so that was the approach, and that still is the approach. Is what do I always thinking about the person that's watching it? What are they going to get out of it from a positive perspective? The value, the benefit. What I think a lot of people who are struggling these days with putting themselves online is that they're thinking way too much, way too focused on what are other people who don't even want to watch my stuff, what are they going to think? So you're thinking about the wrong audience. You're thinking about maybe your aunts, uncles, people who are, I don't know, who knows? Like you're thinking about maybe distant friends or acquaintances who may at one off chance see your video. What are they going to think? And so because you're focused on that, your voice ends up being a little bit shaky. The way you come across isn't fully clear. Perhaps you're anxious about it because you're constantly thinking about what negative feedback you might be getting. But if you actually focus on the ideal person that you want to watch your video, what you want them to walk away with, that's going to help you to narrow your energy and focus your energy to create a video that's going to be very powerful, that's going to impact them, and hopefully leave them with something that they can walk away with, that they can remember you by, and then it'll hook them to want to keep watching future videos. That's the advice that I would give, is really shifting your perspective from who you're, the people that you're focusing on right now that's causing that anxiety versus who you actually want to serve and
Yeah.
provide guidance to.
Yeah, making it more about them versus you. I think a lot of times it's the too much the pressure expectation of ourselves that we need to perform versus to really connect, make an impact to our audience. And something that you talk about too is there's a difference between speaking from our head versus our heart. When we go, I used to, when I first started speaking on cameras, I felt like I was always speaking from my head because I didn't trust myself enough, and everything felt like it had to be scripted. And once I started speaking from the heart, it felt much easier and I felt more connected to the audience there. And that's something I feel has been a big game changer for me, going from the head to the heart.
Yes. Yes, it is. So, um, I mean, in terms of speaking from the heart, like this is the thing is ultimately a video is really powerful because people see your face, they hear your voice, they see your mannerisms, and what you're doing from a very invisible level is you're sort of transferring energy outwards. And the people who are watching, if they can pick up on that energy and they resonate with that energy and it's good energy that you're putting out there, then you're going to continue to get more of those people who are able to connect with you at that level energetically, and they can become your clients, they can become your audience, and all of those things. And so speaking from the heart is what that ultimately is what you're doing, is that you're sharing your heart energy outwards, and you're wanting the people who can also resonate with you from that level, to be able to feel it. If you're speaking from the head, it means that, yeah, like you are gonna, and we've all seen those videos where you can tell the person is just blank. They're literally just reading a script or they're following their transponder and it's just blank eyes, blank voice, like there's no connection. So video is really powerful if you know how to use it from that perspective. Know that there are going to be people that will be able to resonate with your energy. So that's why you have to get very clear within you to be able to express the right frequency of energy that you want through your video, and then that'll in turn attract the right audience, even if it's not big numbers. And I've seen a dip in my views over the years. Absolutely. YouTube, obviously, it's a whole new algorithm and all of that, but I know that the ones that are watching are the ones that truly resonate. And that's what matters for me. It's not about getting all the gazillion views. I've had that. And it doesn't always mean anything. Like it really is more about, are they resonating with you, your message, and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Something just came through me as you were talking here. This is such a great takeaway for our audience with this topic is if you want to attract opportunities, remember this ace here. Your authenticity, being true to who you are, your confidence and really believing what you have to offer, and your energy, the way you show up.
I love that. Oh, love
Ace to
that.
attract opportunities. It just literally, this vision just came to me as you were talking. Authenticity, confidence, and energy is what's going to help you attract amazing
Oh my
opportunities.
gosh. Ace. Ace,
Ace.
everyone.
That's how we're going to remember today's topic here.
That
So,
is so good.
Linda, I know this has been a journey in the making with the book, and you're launching next month, and I'm just so proud of you. And I know there are some people who are also very special who adore you, love your book. I have a surprise for you. I have a very special guest who is coming on the show to share a little bit more about you, about your book, and her message. Our very dear friend Amy Bateman is here coming on the show. You
Oh
have
my
no idea,
gosh.
right? She read your manuscript, and I invited her to the show because I want her to share a little bit more when she first read your manuscript. So I'm going to bring her on the show, shall we?
Oh my gosh, Amy.
Surprise!
What a good surprise. Oh my gosh.
Hi, lovely. How are you? I've been
Oh,
watching you for an hour, just sitting here, and my heart is bursting.
oh. You are so good, Diana, at like keeping a
Isn't
secret.
she? Isn't she? She is the most thoughtful, wonderful. Like when I got her message, I was like, yeah, I want to be on there. And thank you for nurturing our friend in this way. So
Oh,
yeah, lovely.
thank
Yes.
you.
I
Thank
really
you
want to
both.
bring Amy on because I know you two have been connecting and you sent your manuscript to Amy. Amy, maybe for us you could share, first of all, how did you meet Linda, and tell us a little bit more, like what was your first reaction when you read the book. If we could just share your perspective about Linda and the book here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I first met Linda probably a year ago, although like many others, I'd met her on YouTube, but I hadn't met her. And I just got a lovely note from her about a year ago, just saying, I really like what you're doing. We're in a similar space. Would you like to just have a chat? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And yeah, from that first call, I was like, this is a really, 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 really special individual. So yeah, and we've just become very close since then. And when I read the manuscript, I think, Linda, you've been sharing the screenshot of what I sent you. And it was just, I didn't know what to say. I was just like, I think I wrote wow. I think I wrote the word wow about 5 times. And I didn't expect to finish it so quickly, but I couldn't put it down. And I think what I loved the most about it was that, for me personally, seeing Linda go beyond the formulaic career advice, which there's nothing wrong with that, and people need that, and we all need that, and that kind of advice helps millions of people all the time. But just seeing her go to that another level, because that book has gifted a lot of people, right? It's giving so many things to a lot of people, but I genuinely think that it's given a huge amount to you, Linda.
Yes.
I do.
You're right.
And I feel
right.
like you've gone, since writing that book, you've gone on such a journey. And when you read it, you can feel the twists, you can feel the turns, you can almost like feel the sleepless nights, the worries, the ups and the downs. It's like you go on the journey with her. And for me, that was the most beautiful part, because I felt like I was really seeing into somebody's soul and their inner journey. Yeah, outward success. Yeah, we love that. But that inner journey, and not many people let you do that. Not many people let you see that. And that for me was the most beautiful part, because it would have been really easy to write a book about promotions, and it would have been a bestseller, and it would have helped so many people, and it would have been awesome. But what you did was give us all permission to just do a little bit of soul discovery, right? Because it's difficult to pivot when there's just your friends and your family, but when there's a million people watching you, and Linda wasn't just pivoting the book, were you, Linda? This book meant that you were going to pivot your audience, your business model, your messaging, all of your content, your identity.
Yeah.
What was it? It wasn't just, oh, I'm going to write about a different topic. It was a huge thing to do. And when there's a million people watching you, and when you know that there's probably a lot of those million people that aren't going to want to hear what you're doing,
Yes.
Yeah.
letting that go, it takes courage. And for me, that's the most amazing thing, is because what Linda is doing is, even when she was terrified, she did it. And if you can do that when a million people are watching, then who are any of us not to do it? Who are any of us not to do the work that our soul needs us to do? And this was the book that you were meant to write. 100% the book you were meant to write. You were born to write this book. I love it, and I love you.
Oh, thank you,
Linda,
Amy.
what's
I
popping
love
up for
you
you?
too. Oh, so good. I'm gonna cry.
This was such a good
Right,
surprise.
we've done enough of that in the last year. We're not doing that today.
Not today.
Not
After
today.
the call.
Yeah, what's coming up for you, Linda? Tell us.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just so grateful. First of all, thank you, Diane, not only for having me here to share my story and for supporting me these last few months, but also bringing Amy, because Amy, she was there before the book, I think, even ever was being written. I don't even think, I think we connected even before then. I can't remember, but yeah, so we connected before then. That's right. Cause I remember sharing the news. Oh, I'm going to be writing a book. And it's just this, it's like this homecoming of, this is what I genuinely, truly, honestly believe. And I think for anyone that's watching, I mean, as much as this is about my story right now, this is also about you and maybe the work that you're meant to do. There's more that you can do. You're feeling it within yourself. There's a deeper place you can go. And it really comes down to allowing yourself to open up within yourself, exploring the vulnerabilities and then growing from that place. And I'm still on this journey, but I'm hoping that even just by hearing my story, that people are inspired to go deeper with what they want, and to not keep playing it small or playing it safe in their eyes, that they're willing to just go deeper. I mean, I don't know any other way to say it, but I really appreciate Diana and Amy, for you guys, for being there to support me through this journey. It really is. It tells you that, if you are willing to be your authentic self as much as you can be, you will attract the right people into your sphere, the people who will align with you and will continue to support you, and that ultimately has what has kept me going. I would not be here without Diana and Amy supporting me throughout this last little while. So yeah, thank you guys.
Oh, this is so good. Amy, anything else you want to say? This is so good. I'm so glad we pulled this surprise off right now.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe it.
I know. And you said that you'd sold 500. Well, you've sold 507 because I've just bought a coffee for everyone on my next program.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've said what I want to say, and I would absolutely recommend that people, because like you said, you read the book and you're just going to set a fire inside people and make people feel like they can do it too, and that takes real courage, my friend, and yeah, very, very, very wonderful.
Yeah. Linda, I have a question for you here. What's the bigger movement you hope your book and message will create for professionals, entrepreneurs around the world? What's that bigger movement you hope to create?
The bigger movement, if I had to distill it into a few words, it's really about turning inwards. We have been trained and programmed and taught to look externally for the recognition, for the approval, for the likes, for the validation. And my journey is one where I've had to learn that ultimately that's not where you're going to find that fulfillment and that meaning and that sense of empowerment. It has to come from within, which means you have to be willing to turn inward and look for it within yourself. And when you're looking for it, there will be a journey that you go through, which is why it's called, the Quiet Achiever, your journey to authentic confidence, because part of that journey is to identify and face the things that have been holding you back, keeping you feeling small, keeping you feeling stuck, keeping you feeling lost, afraid, doubtful, anxious, all of those things. But when you can turn inward and you're willing to address them one by one as they pop up, then you can show up as who you were meant to be and who you are at the deepest level. So that's the movement, is really getting people to look within.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to share this, something that I witnessed earlier this summer, just 2 months ago. Amy, I hosted a Toronto mastermind here for my clients, and it was so beautiful to witness Linda doing her thing, her magic of helping people unblock to unlock. And a lot of it is shifting their inner energy that was blocking them, that's been holding them back. And it was just so beautiful to witness that, because I can see the transformation in people like instantly in that. And that's why I'm so excited for this new chapter for you, Linda, because I've seen your evolution of your content being very practical, very tactical, and that's how I've been too. And I think part of for me is because I felt like that's the way to do it, the practical, until the last several years. Like, I want to also dig deep into authenticity, energy, heart-based. And I think that's what's really going to connect with our audience, because they want that. They want the realness and the raw and the vulnerability. That's how we're going to connect with one another and support one another to continue to rise together as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Amy, do you have any questions for Linda?
Well, all of those things that you just said, you're going to get all of that in the book. That's for sure. It's definitely real. It's definitely authentic. So how do you feel about yourself now? Like when you go to bed at night and you have that, and I know, we might go to bed with 5 dogs, 10 kids, a husband, like we know that, but that 30 seconds before you close your eyes and you fall asleep, you're on your own, right in your head. And what does that feel like for you now?
So if I'm thinking about even last night, I had my talk that I delivered to Harvard, which I never thought I'd ever talk to Harvard students and alumni. And that for me is an accomplishment. I mean, an external accomplishment, fantastic. But it was also something that I I did spend a little bit of time reflecting, like, wow, I can say that I've spoken to people at Harvard. But when I went to bed, that all just like faded away. It just disappeared. I think in the past I would have held on to, oh, that is where I can find my source of validation and achievement and recognition, and that's going to be part of my self-worth. So I'm going to try to remind myself of that and carry that. But then if something negative happens, quote unquote, that's going to drop me down and I'm going to forget all about those things. Whereas for me now, I'm in a place where things are happening and it's almost this neutral feeling. It's this, interestingly enough, it's this neutral feeling, whatever's happening on the outside. But, and we talked about this before, Amy, where this sense of self-trust has started to really show itself within me, where I really trust my inner guidance. I really trust my intuition. So if something feels off, I will feel that. But if things are fine, then I know, then I'm clear-minded. So that's why I think where the neutrality comes in, where I'm trusting where I'm at a lot more. So if that makes any sense, I don't know how to describe it. So when you trust, you feel neutral because you know that, okay, things are happening as they should. It's when the anxiety kicks in where it's like, okay, let's look into that. So it's just being much more self-aware. And so going to bed at night, I'm getting good sleep. And even though I'm in the midst of this book launch, and it's part of it is because I've also had to let go of my expectations of saying that, oh, I'm going to be like this crazy bestseller. Maybe not this book, maybe the next book. We'll say maybe the next book. And that's completely fine, because for me, this has brought me so much in terms of clarity and this authentic confidence that I talk about. I'm just becoming so much more of who I want to be in terms of how I'm showing up in the world. And
and I think that goes back to what you were saying, what you said brilliantly earlier, which is about owning your story. Because when you own your story, you don't compare yourself to anyone else. So you're not comparing yourself to the Mel Robbinses and all of those bestsellers. So that's why it probably doesn't matter to you so much, because you do own your story and you do know what your journey is. And then that doesn't allow, there's no space there for comparison.
Yeah.
There's a really beautiful quote as well, and I can't remember who said it. Somebody on the call might know. And I don't think it's when you meet your soulmate, it's not when you have the butterflies, it's not when you have the sweaty palms. It's when you feel calm and at peace, because your soul is calm. And if that literally gave me shivers when you say that, because that's what I want everybody to feel, is what you've just described. That 30 seconds, that neutral, that calm, because what it means is that you are exactly where your soul is meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And you're out there showing everybody how it can be done for them too. So I just think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that you just distilled it in that, because that is exactly how I felt when I met my husband too. It wasn't butterflies, it wasn't anxiety or anxious. It was just calm, like, I feel really comfortable. I feel just at ease. And I can say that that's what's happening to me now. It's not like I don't have my crazy anxious days though, but
of course,
I'm able to
we work with our
regroup.
husbands as well, right? And our partners. But I think that we know that our most important relationship is with ourselves. So for you to bring that essence of calm to your relationship that you have with yourself, which we can only see when all the noise stops for that 30 seconds, when we're really alone at the end of the day, that's it. You've nailed it. And you're on that journey. I love that. For you.
Yeah. What just popped up for me as we're talking about this, about being you, the authentic you. It also ties in a lot of the work that we recently learned at this conference I attended, of how when you can be your most authentic self, you are actually your most magnetic in terms of attracting the right people and opportunities. There's been studies shown that authenticity is like 4,000 times more powerful than love. And so when you can tap into this, being true to who you really are, and then plus also tapping into this imagination of what you truly, truly want, of honoring your desires and having this possibilities mindset, essentially you are creating your future. You're living your future as well, how you manifest things. Like, it ties all into that. But at first you need to come back to who you truly are and what you truly want, how you're honoring yourself to allow you to track those things that you want. Yeah, that's why I'm so excited for this book for you, Linda. Like this is what I feel like it's about. It's that, honoring the truth of you.
It's literally the
Yeah.
framework to get there. It's literally step by step what you need to do to get there. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you're sharing this, Amy, because, not a lot of people have fully read the book yet.
I
Obviously, because the
know. And
book
I
is
got
still in.
the manuscript on email, yeah, and I was like
Yes.
reading it, and I didn't even put, yeah. But I mean, it's literally step by step to re-meet yourself. How beautiful is that?
Absolutely.
Yes, I'm so grateful that you're both sharing this, and yeah, I just can't wait till people actually do read it, and there's a part of me that still wants to say, like, do you resonate with it? I would love to see that. So I mean, I know that'll come in a month or so, and later on as people write in and share their thoughts, but I'm glad that you were able to capture that and see that I'm trying to walk you through the process of, like, going from where you are to that deeper, authentic version of you. That was really the intention. I'm so happy that.
Yeah, you did it brilliantly.
Yeah, I love this. So let's do, as we wrap up here. I want to check in with the audience. There's an audience. If you're here, if this message resonate with you today, type in the +1. Give some words of encouragement to Linda as well. The love and support. Amy, so appreciate you being here. This was so much fun for you to be here as well. If you order the book, type in that you've already pre-ordered the book. If not, I want to encourage you to order Linda's book. She's giving out $1,000 plus of bonuses. Like, they're really, really good bonuses. She's giving. Lynn, I'm going to let you tell them what you're giving out with your book order here.
Yes. I mean, so obviously this has been catered for the professionals that are sort of still in the corporate world, but I think it's relevant for really anyone. So the bonuses that I'm giving, there's a PDF that's called Master Speaking Up. And so it's for those of us who are quiet introverts that want to really enhance our communication. So that's a PDF that I have. I also had a live workshop. It was about communicating more confidently. And that is now it's the recording that you're going to be getting. I also have my best-selling course. So it's part of those years where I was selling those evergreen courses. One of my best-selling courses was called Top Notch Interview, and it's helped thousands of people at this point to communicate better in interviews and land job offers. And that I'm giving away for free. So if you want that, it's worth $700 US, but now it's free if you just pre-order a book. So that plus the workshop and the PDF. We're also going to be doing a virtual book launch party. So that'll be happening in about a month when the book comes out. Would love to see you guys there. We'll come on live like this, and I'll be planning that. And what else can I say? And if you want to work with me,
Yeah, go ahead.
Go to work with me. Okay, so I'll share that. So this new program, Quiet to Confident, is really for those individuals who are wanting exactly what we've been talking about for the last hour and a bit, is really wanting to dive deeper into how do they step up into that confident, authentic version of themselves. And of course, we're going to mix in both the inner with also the practical. It's more of a communication focused type of program. So I want to really work on the way they're actually expressing themselves, the way that they're interacting with others. Ultimately, that's what's going to help them in their careers as well. So that's the program. So if you're interested, you can go to lindarayner.com/QTC and sign up, and we'll basically just put in your name and we can have a chat.
Amazing. I'm so excited. Yeah, feel free to connect with Linda. I just added your LinkedIn there, Linda, if anyone wants to connect with you. I'm really excited for your new work that you're putting out in the world, because it's going to go so much deeper. Like, you're doing like transformational work. That's the work that you're doing, which I'm so excited about. So I'm so glad that you are sharing that. And for those who are based in Toronto, because we're based in Toronto here, is Linda's going to be doing some book signings as well. That weekend. I'm actually hosting an event on the 17th as a luncheon, but I know Linda's going to be there. She's going to do some book signings. So for those who are in the greater Toronto area, we want to invite you to come on out to meet Linda, to get a picture. She's also doing some book signing at the Indigo chapters here. She'll share more details as well. But that's just a great weekend to celebrate the birth of this book launch that we're so excited for you here, Linda.
Thank you. Yes. If you guys pre-order, make sure that you go to lindarayner.com/book. You pre-order and you put in your email so that I can let you know about these book signings. So the 17th is with Diana's group, and then Saturday and Sunday, 18th and 19th, I'll be at Indigo, one at Yonge and Eglinton on the Saturday, and then at Sherway Gardens on the Sunday. If you guys want to meet with me in person, hopefully I have people show up.
We're going to have people showing up, right? Look at it. We got people already ordering books here.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you guys.
My pleasure. Amy, anything else that you want to say, that you want to share? I'm just so glad that you're here today. We
Well, I wish that I was in Toronto.
I know.
Unfortunately, I'm a very, very long way away.
Well, you know what I'm manifesting? This is what I'm manifesting. I'm already seeing this. I got to get a picture of us three here. I'm manifesting the three of us is going to be in Cancun next year at my mastermind retreat. That's what I'm seeing right now, the three of us. And then we're going to have other coaches as well, because I know that's something that we've been talking about.
Yes, that's exciting. We'll do that. We can meet in person.
We got to meet in person. Okay, I'm going to do a quick selfie here because it's so rare that we can get the three of us together. If that's okay, I'm going to do one picture here like this. Smile. One more of this frame as well. Smile. Amazing. Thank you so much. This was such a great preview about your book, Linda. I am just so proud of you. And I just want to thank the audience for being here with us today. This is like my LinkedIn Live comeback. I haven't had one for about almost a year. So this was a very special episode that we had a LinkedIn Live with a great audience on LinkedIn and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for being here today. Today we cover so much about the inner game of success, from overcoming self-doubt and comparison to showing it with energy, and most importantly, expressing authentic confidence in a way that feels natural and aligned. So if you ever felt like you've held back your voice, compared yourself to louder personalities, or struggled with confidence during burnout or setbacks, you're not alone. And as we heard today, confidence isn't about being louder or doing more. It's about trusting yourself, your presence, your energy, and really owning your value from the inside out. So that's exactly why Linda's new book, The Quiet Achiever, is so timely. It's written for those who've always been the steady, hardworking achievers, but maybe haven't always felt fully seen, valued, or confident in expressing their voice. So this book will guide you to shift your beliefs, energy, and confidence so that opportunities come to you without the constant striving. So pre-order The Quiet Achiever. You see the QR code here to grab those bonuses as well. Thank you so much, Linda and Amy, for being here today. I can't wait to connect further.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
having
much,
me.
Diana. Oh,
Bye, everyone.